As with anything in American society, sports journalism has been subject to gradual yet substantial social and technological advancements over the course of time. In the very early 1900s, we had to wait until the next day to find the box score in a newspaper in order to know what happened the night before. With the establishment of radio in the 1920s, we were able to listen to announcers broadcast games as they were happening. On May 17, 1939, the first ever sports telecast became a college baseball game between Columbia University and Princeton University. From that point on, technology escalated very quickly.
Well, it's changed everything. I mean, the blog, everybody has a blog, whether you're in newspapers or whether you're on the internet, everything is done via a blogging platform. And the blog is a two-way communication between you and your readers that never used to exist before. You would write a story, maybe there'd be a letter to the editor, maybe there'd be a nasty sort of phone call if you wrote something that displeased someone. Email then opened up that line of communication about a decade ago, but now you write something online, there's an immediacy. The blog allows you as a writer to present a more human face to the kind of stuff you were doing. I laugh when I see some old school newspaper people pretend that their blogs don't exist.
In this day and age, people want it now. They want, the game just ended, okay, in 20 minutes they want to read about it, or they want to see what players or people are saying about the game. In a newspaper, you got to wait till the next day. Nowadays, what you read about at 10 o'clock in the morning is old news.
The increased immediacy with which information has become available throughout the last century can be seen as both a good thing and as a bad thing. We are able to acquire more information at a quicker rate, but we have also come to crave information at a proportion that exceeds what we are able to receive with current technology. In the last 10 years, social media has exploded, unreservedly transforming the world of sports journalism with a seemingly unsustainable besieging of knowledge, a flurry of reports, opinions, pictures, and articles, all requested within seconds of a game's conclusion. Social media has allowed us to establish a more personal relationship with sports reporters. For example, instead of going to ESPN for our day-to-day football news updates, we seek Adam Schefter's personal opinion, as he is ESPN's resident expert on all things football. This is called citizen journalism. When we view Schefter's profile on Twitter, we see his incessant updates are complemented by links to stories, articles, and pictures that he thinks we would appreciate. Here, he links us directly to a video that delves deeper into the topic of his tweet, so the casual Twitter user is led to a more thorough analysis of the subject in which he is interested. He retweets other journalists whose opinion he appreciates, and, by virtue of his credibility, we instantly trust them as well. Maybe one journalism occupies a different niche, say college football, and we now follow them in addition to Schefter for updates about their respective field. Another great example of a successful citizen journalist in sports is Jay Bilas. Jay Bilas, a Duke graduate, analyzes college basketball. Because college basketball is not covered year-round on ESPN, those of us who are infatuated with the sport can mosey over to his Twitter feed for constant coverage. What Jay does best is use his Twitter feed as a forum for discussion. Most recently, Bilas has been discussing the issue of compensation for college athletes, an overtly controversial subject about which many people desire to share their opinion. Through Twitter, we are able to tweet at Jay Bilas, and there are many times when he will respond directly to those tweets. If he thinks what you are saying is interesting, he will engage in conversation with you via tweets. This captures the loyalty of the layman, who now realize they have undeviating accessibility to someone so knowledgeable in the field. Since we are craving more material than we can physically receive, as I mentioned earlier, seekers of information will go to inordinate lengths to get that material. This need for instant gratification has led to a compromise in the quality of the sources from which we receive that information. Although we may not see it this way, we are sacrificing receiving our updates from quality sources such as ESPN and ABC, and we are willing to accept information from sources that may be unreliable, as long as they can get it to us first. One way by which we can verify the quality of our information is through Clout. Clout is an app that combines all of your social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., and gives you a score from 1 to 100. This score represents your ability to reach your followers. In other words, it assigns value based on the amount of people that you are able to engage with a single post. The more people you consistently engage, the higher clout score you will have. Someone like you or I may have a clout score around 30. Someone like President Obama or the New York Times, though, will have the highest clout scores of all, as they are able to extend their reach to millions of people with just a single tweet. What we all need to do is take a step back and ask ourselves the following questions. What would those who lived 20, 25, 50, and even 100 years ago think of our compromises? What do you, personally, compromise on a daily basis to gather your information? And most importantly, if this is what we are willing to compromise now, what more will we be willing to compromise in the future?
These days.
How have looking at some of the writers in Boston, like Paul Flannery, Chris Forsberg, Jimmy Toscano, Joe Haggerty, the Bruins, they all have blogs, and the way they cover it just basically use a lot of digital media, Twitter. They use blogs for their respective sites. How is that different from traditional news writing?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like what I was saying to you earlier off camera, is that Chris Forsberg, he started out getting his name in high school, by just blogging about the high school football and sports like that. And I think even Haggerty covered high school or college hockey. I'm not really sure on that. And then that just propels them to the next level of, going to the papers, but they still continue their blogs, which is really helpful to, everyone.
When as a future sports writer, that's what you want to do, what tools do you think are going to be needed for the future, in the journalism? Besides good writing, what do you think is going to be needed?
You're going to need to know, you're online. You're going to have to be digital. It seems like every application or, site I look for, that it's the qualifications. They want you to have, a good, digital background where you can, get the news out fast, get pretty much your word out there before anyone else. It's all about speed in this business.